Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to this, my second channel, let's get it right, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the live Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Saiyan, Sleeping Warrior, The Plain Truth and Arwin. Good to have you all.
Hello, hello, hello. What?
Yo, yo.
Hello, good to have you all. Should we do a bit of housekeeping? Start things off.
Yeah, let's roll through.
Right, any signs of Earth curvature?
I think it's Travis.
Yeah. Correct.
Why is it me? I'm just looking at my phone.
I'm just seeing your levels are bouncing while Nathan's talking.
Oh.
I can't.
Come
tell.
on, Nathan. Let's get the first housekeeping done.
Yes. Any signs of Earth curvature?
Absolutely none.
No. Hell no.
Nothing new. No new videos needs addressing. Nothing at all.
No. Although actually,
It's a bunch of obstruction mistaken for curvature, based on
Yeah.
deliberate ignorance.
any obstruction's curvature is the rule that they apply still. They haven't changed that position. No curve, just any obstruction will do.
Okay, so nothing's curving. Any signs of axial rotation?
No.
Nope.
Stationary.
Yeah, agreed. No obvious signs that we're moving a smegging inch. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure, as we all know and love, and are breathing, next to a vacuum without a barrier? Any signs of gas pressure without a container, gentlemen?
Only for a very short time.
That's an interesting comment.
I'm not saying anything. I'm going to move on quickly if we don't get any answers. No signs of gas pressure without a container?
No.
No.
Okay. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No.
An intangible object, Nathan. Can't prove physicality.
You can make all sorts of assumptions though, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, we can conclude that the woman that we think we're looking at from the other side of the pool that's wearing a bikini is actually a woman, but how are you going to prove that she's actually a woman unless you do something more than just look at her?
You have a little touch. Unless she's intangible, then you can't touch her.
It's just wrong.
Or him.
And
You just don't know.
even if you then have a little touch, let's not forget the Caster Semenya case from the Olympics, where she was basically, they didn't know what gender she was because she was battering the female team. Even when they got full on into the DNA level of the invasion of her privacy, they still basically found it really difficult to ascertain what sex she was, and that's within the whole body of science. So what level of credible evidence do you think spectroscopy is going to realistically give us to prove that the sun's a tangible object?
Well, by definition, it's not tangible.
No, it presupposes that in order for that process to work, it can't prove it's a physical
Yeah, it
object
presupposes
because it
physicality.
requires it to be a physical object in order for that to make any damn sense.
Talking of things not making any sense, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
That doesn't even make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But that it might not make sense to you because you may not be why we say it that way. But I saw Paul Voigt last night on Discord, Nathan, and I asked him about this evidence, and again, still no evidence of it. Even though he claims he's got it, he didn't produce any.
I see. What about scientific evidence of gravity?
Scientific? No, definitely no scientific evidence of gravity.
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
Yeah.
No?
No,
What
none.
about the R value? Hail R, Earth radius.
No, I can't honestly say I've seen any evidence of R.
No? Nobody?
Yeah.
Are we done?
I think that's it. That concludes the housekeeping. You were tentatively umming and ahhing about Earth curve, and then Arwin mentioned.
Oh yeah, I've got 3 points to make, so I'll try and be quick. But one of them is, you know, conspiracy flaps.
I do.
He's got 2 channels, right? He's got Baldy Cats, which he said was going to be purely scientific. It's not going to be all the fluff that all the drongos accept, right? I don't watch his conspiracy channel because his conspiracy cats channel is literally it is all the fluff that the drongos accept, and they love it because they think that the ridicule is somehow winning them anything, right? Now I'm screen sharing, Nate. Would you put this on screen for us? Now, I didn't realize until yesterday that a week ago he's done a dedicated video on me based on some element of maths or something that I did. Now, what he claims in this video that I've realized that I've debunked flat Earth whilst I'm live on a live hangout. But what he's done is he's totally misrepresented the point that I said and said something completely different, which is the same as what he does with Ranty when Ranty says, hey, look, the letters are all squashing on the bottom of this boat. I don't know why, but this compression is definitely in the picture. And then Conspiracy Cats goes and represents this to be curve of the Earth, when the original point being made was that it had nothing to do with the curve of the Earth. It's an optical effect that's caused by whatever. But he misrepresents Ranty and he restates it as a ball Earth proof. Well, he's done the same with me. And now I didn't notice this because it's on his Conspiracy Cats channel, whereas the other video that we were dealing with at the time to do with the mountain was on the Baldy Cats channel. But look at the views it's had. It's had 143,000 views a week ago. And if you go to his most popular videos, it's by far his most popular video, 143,000. Now, the problem is he's told people a lie here because he's told people that I realize, well, aside from the fact that he claims that I've realized I've debunked flat Earth, he's told them that the maths that I was presenting on screen related to one thing, but it's clear if you listen to what I say, it relates to the opposite. Now, even if it did relate to that which he claims, it doesn't mean that it's a flat Earth debunk. It just means that the maths is just not agreeing with what he claims the maths is not agreeing with. But the point is that he's telling all these people a falsehood, literally a lie, that now 143,000 people apparently have seen this in the last week. And they all now think that I've debunked flat Earth, apparently. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Are you totally being dishonest here or what? This guy is literally repackaging flat Earth proofs. And regardless of what the claim of what we claim that they are, he'll call it a ball Earth proof no matter what. And I'm like, this guy is not the guy that I first met. This guy is literally dishonest. So anybody that thinks Conspiracy Cats is a credible opposition, he's literally repackaging flat Earth proofs, calling them curvature, knowing that that's not the claim. The claim is that these prove that something else is going on, and it's not explained by the current science. And he's repackaging it. He's fundamentally dishonest. And anybody that thinks that he's good, you're just supporting a disinformation agent. You're a liar, a dishonest person, and he should be ashamed of himself. It's embarrassing, Conspiracy Cats. And it also went on the channel that I don't watch. That's why I didn't notice it. So anyway, that's the first thing. Second thing, I had a nice hangout last night with Betty on Betty's Discord, and there was a gent on there that claimed he was an attorney. And I said to him, if you're an attorney, what evidence do you accept that proves gravity? And we started going through Cavendish, and once we got to the end of Cavendish, he actually admitted that he couldn't explain these in like discrepancies, but that he actually trusts science. So I said, well, if you actually trust science, shouldn't your position be neutral rather than pro-gravity? Because if you accept that you have to trust somebody, that means that you're not accepting any evidence yourself. You're just accepting what you're told. And he accepted that he couldn't prove it, but he wouldn't accept that he should be neutral because he wants gravity to be true.
But he doesn't trust science. He trusts the body of science.
Yeah, he didn't actually. My question to him was, what evidence do you accept that proves gravity? And he accepted that he didn't accept any evidence at the end. He realizes that there's faults with it, but he's happy to believe the science proves gravity because science tells them that gravity's true.
You know what that's called?
The answer is you don't actually accept any evidence. And
there's a word for that. There's a word.
Yeah.
Religion.
Yeah. But he didn't accept that he should be neutral. And I was like, right, that's cognitive dissonance, right? You've been shown evidence that's contrary to your opinion, and you accept that the evidence is contrary, but you don't realize that your position should be neutral. I'm
sorry, I know this is only your second point. I just want to add one small thing because it links the two things together, your solicitor and Katz, which is to say that they're always going to justify their own cognition, be it by lying or whatever. But ultimately speaking, this is a religious point of view by both people, and Katz displayed the same sort of behaviour when you very first interviewed him about this subject and you asked him to bring scientific evidence, and that was very quickly thrown out of the window in favour of his religion. Now, a lot of people who can see the parallel to people who get critiqued for being religious, specifically being religious. Now, I'm not going to name any particular group. It doesn't matter. Jews, Muslims, Christians, pick your poison. It doesn't matter. But when those people are critiqued for their religious belief, they do the same thing, which is to say they substitute something that is contrary to their belief and say, I still trust, I still believe, I still have faith. And that is precisely what Conspiracy Cats did when you asked him for science. He said, I trust NASA, pictures from space. And this guy is saying, I trust science, I trust the priests. So this is religious indoctrination, and these people are expressing that when they go against their training. In the case of the solicitor, he's been trained to critique evidence, and he has said, no, I have no evidence to accept, and I understand that. However, I trust, I believe, I have faith. Conspiracy Cat's the same. I have no science for my assertions, but I trust, I believe. NASA, pictures from space.
Yeah.
Priests. Sorry, your third point, Anthony. Sorry to interrupt.
My third point was I was just chatting on Poncho Pete's channel because Chocolate asked me would I come in and chat for a bit, and basically it's complicated and it's kind of reciting the same stuff that I've just said, but basically they were asking what's going on, like, for an update, where we at, and what I'll do is I'll just give a brief update to where I'm at. I had yesterday I had a conversation. It was the first detailed conversation I've had with legal representation, and it was basically I've told them what we want, what we're trying to achieve, what is the remedy that we're after. I've told them what the law that we're going to attack is and what the angle is. And the conversation I had to have yesterday was how are we going to prove that they can't prove their case? Because they want to know what the evidence is that proves that they're wrong. But the problem is, I had to try and get through to them that we're not trying to prove that the Earth's flat. We're trying to prove that they can't prove their case. But the problem is, when you come to present evidence that proves that their case is not as strong and cut and dry as they tell us it is, it immediately invokes the perception that the Earth must therefore be flat. Now, that's not good, because you don't want to argue that the Earth's flat, and you don't want to mention the word flat Earth. You want to say that their arguments, this is the evidence that proves that their arguments cannot be true. So the problem that I had yesterday was it was the first detailed conversation that I had with somebody that was like, you're basically a flat earther. And I'm like, yeah, but the point that we're making is that they can't prove their case to be true. We're not trying to prove that the Earth's flat. And it was difficult to portray the message to them that we're not trying to argue that the Earth's flat, because by instantly attacking that what they tell us is the shape of the Earth, and we're saying, well, you can't prove that, you default back to, without thinking about it, you default back to a flat earther. And that's really not what I want to argue, because if you argue that, it's going to be too difficult. It's crazy. What we want to argue is that they can't prove their claim. So I had a really a paradoxical back and forth that was basically trying to persuade them that we need to instruct them with what they need to be doing to address these points. And we're not arguing that the Earth's flat. So they're not necessarily on side at this point.
Just want to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, Anthony. I've got to get this question in. Why would that be? Why would it be that when you, without prompting and trying to, in fact, avoid the sentiment of the Earth being flat, would it be that his logical conclusion is automatically that the Earth is flat? Why do you think that would be the case?
Because I guess it's the effect of the brainwashing, I guess.
No, not. Why would he revert to the Earth is flat when you're challenging the Copernican model? He or she.
What else is there?
Well, it's not that what else is there, it's the what are we presented with? What do we actually see? What do we actually encounter? And I say it till I'm blue in the face. The Earth is obviously and observably flat. and we have been tricked into consideration of a sphere Earth, with a hijacking of perspective and a replacement of that fact with Earth curve. Now, given that that's the case, it doesn't change the observable, obvious reality that we are actually faced with on a day-to-day basis. Even some of the astrophysicists will say the Earth appears to be flat, and then they will qualify why it isn't. Now, that is to say that most normal, logical, rational people will observe the obvious, and that is that the Earth is flat.
Well, the problem came, or the problem will arise, where if this does go, imagine it actually ends up in court, and imagine that you've got the judge that's looking down his spectacles, looking down on you like you're the gnat on the bottom of the dog shit. Imagine that you've got to persuade this guy that they can't prove their case. They're going to have literally 100 PhDs that all say the same thing. Worst case scenario. And what have we got? Well, yeah, there are PhDs within FE Core, but there's not 100 of them. You know what I mean? So but that's on the assumption that you're trying to prove an opposing view, and we're not trying to prove an opposing view.
Yeah, but
we're trying to prove that they can't prove theirs.
I don't think it's
does it matter
necessary.
if 100 people say the same thing? Isn't it actually about the technical arguments? Really?
Judges are most influenced by expert evidence. If you get 2 PhDs, one says blue, the other one says red, then they've got to decide. But if you get 100 say blue and only one that says red, then that's going to be persuasive.
Hold on. Being a judge is not like picking a winner. You have to actually be technically correct. That's what it's really about. So
yeah, that's what they tell us the judge should do. But is the judge actually impartial the way that they tell us that they should be? And I don't know whether they are or not. You can't. Judges are
reveal
really
itself quickly enough. So.
Judges are really unpredictable, and you can't predict what they are or are not going to agree with because you just don't know.
I've got to pipe up again. The bit I'm taking umbrage with is, it seems to me, and is disclaimed by many, that the logically obvious conclusion you come to after you challenge the Copernican model is that it is observably flat. So given that that's the case, why would it be necessary to fight it or present it? In other words, I'm kind of siding with you and kind of not. You shouldn't necessarily try and avoid the subject, but leave people to come to the obvious logical conclusion themselves. And like with most things, when you've been deceived, the obvious becomes really embarrassingly clear after the penny drops. So for most of us,
you're right. But the key word that you said there was most people. In this context, it's not most people. It's a judge, isn't it?
Okay.
And the judge is going to be based on the evidence. And if you get 100 PhDs saying blue, and we've got 2 PhDs that say red, then he's not going to side with the 2 PhDs saying red, like most likely, is he? That's the problem we've got.
Not really. You've got the Declaration of Science, which is abundant and totally incorrect and abused, and you can pull that apart all day long. So PhD says we've got scientific evidence of this, and you just do the same exact process that we do. Mike's joined. Can someone boot him out the back chat?
I hope Arwin's got it open.
Got him.
Thanks, Arwin.
Did you have it open, Arwin?
Of course.
Ultimately, we're never going to see eye to eye on this. I'm a devout flat earther and will say statements like the Earth is obviously and observably flat. You don't necessarily take that standpoint. So from this position, we're never going to see eye to eye on this, which is why I've said exactly what I've just said, so we can kind of draw a close to it, because you and I both know where each other stands in this regard. Oh, did he kick all the panel out?
Nope. They're just muted.
There he is.
Oh.
Getting trolled. Hopefully a few randoms will join just to fill up the panel so we don't get trolled to all hell over the next 20 minutes.
We'll need 5 people for that.
I thought Pete Shea wanted to join. He was asking me about a link. It was
but somebody probably blocked him.
Yeah, right. Is that you, Arwin? Hey, Zinder.
No. Hey, Zinder.
Hi, everyone.
What's that? What's your icon? Let's stick it up on screen. Hopefully it'll appear.
Oh,
hey, Paul.
I'm a convex earther now.
A convex earther?
Yeah, I even drew a little like just for the concept. It isn't too it isn't to take literally, but I already drew like how it should work.
You're exploring the model.
Hey Zinder, listen, I got kicked last night, and I think you got kicked at the same time by the dodgy Travis account. Did I hear you right when you said that you've become a convex earther?
Yeah, I had to tell anybody because it kind of is a great experience right now for me, and it's a great conclusion.
Let's have this conversation. What evidence do you accept that the Earth's convex?
Well, I can show you. I mean, it's this kind of concept right now. It came to my mind when it's a long story, but it came to my mind when I was looking for a laser operation for my eyes, and then it kind of developed from there. But it doesn't really matter here. Here I can show you how I think that it works, but I don't have any proof right now. I will work on a model. But
you realize
hold on, let me just get this straight.
Default, right?
Hold on,
no,
Anthony. Let me just. If this is just a piss take out of our win, I'm not going to tolerate it.
What?
If you're just going to take the piss out of our win, I'm not going to tolerate it.
Padsinder, down.
Jesus, P. Jesus.
So
really loud.
Here.
Hey.
Oh, am I too loud? Okay, sorry. You never welcomed me. I didn't notice, Nathan.
That's better. Thanks, P. Jesus.
Greetings.
Right, you're up, Zinder.
So here is what I just drew.
Hey,
here.
Daniel.
This is the radiation comes parallel, but because it's the upper layer is convex membrane, it will like focus the light, and then it appears to be a sun, like an illusion of the sun. And the other side of the Earth is just antimatter. You could go there, but you would just get annihilated, so it's kind of impossible. Here is like a barrier, which isn't material because it would annihilate with each other.
Oh, new page truth.
So yeah, this is my concept of the convex Earth, which we live on here, and somewhere here is Antarctica at the sides. But I would have to model it in a three-dimensional shape in order to people to understand.
But you do realize that if you can't cross the barrier into the antimatter, that makes it a flat Earth, right?
What do you mean?
Well, it's not. It's a pillow Earth.
Yeah, it's like it has a little bit of curve, but not that much as the globe Earth says. It is like maybe if you would
super oblate.
No, if you would take the Earth and cut out 1/4 of the ball and like stretch it 4 times bigger, pretty much the curve is 4 times weaker on the convex Earth than on the globe Earth.
Wow. Can I say something to Zinder there, just as a comment? Nice to speak to you, man. I don't think we've spoken before, but you've only recently had to overturn pretty much everything you held dear, right? Going back the whole of your life, and here you are. It's almost like you're hard and fast on a certain position, whereas I should think the natural thing for you to do is to go away for about 6 weeks or something, study everything that has been produced thus far by all the different contributors, and then come back with some sort of hard and fast.
What makes you think he hasn't done that?
Well, I know I have to. I know I have to go a little bit deeper into my thoughts and so on. Right? I agree with him because it's kind of an impulse decision to present the convex Earth to people, but I just wanted to. I know everyone here disagrees with me, of course, but I just wanted to.
Not necessarily.
It's not about that. It's not about that.
What evidence do you accept that gives you to that conclusion? I'm interested to know the evidence that you accept, rather than the concept. Yeah. Rather than the concept.
It was more like a feeling thing. I am not completely convinced of convex Earth, but I think this is the right way to go, and I will look further into it, and maybe one day I think I would find some proof. I have to go outside and study this.
Let me ask you a question.
Zinder? Where's the edge?
Let me ask you a question, Zinder. And you mentioned it just briefly earlier on, and I would suggest that everybody do this, especially flat earthers who have been down this path for a significant amount of time. We know that the atmosphere, right, or particularly the water particulation within the atmosphere, makes a massive difference to what we see. And one of the big questions for any of us is, what exactly is the sun? I would suggest you go to high altitude balloon footage images above the atmosphere and take a good look at the sun and look at the pattern that's emanating and look at it through away from this lens of distortion, I guess. This will be, for flat earthers especially, this will be an eye-opener for all of us. But otherwise, I would say this, actually, let me say this to everyone else, and I'll shut up then. If you haven't been through Simon Shack of September Clues fame about the 9/11 media hoax, they were the main exposers of it. His latest model is the SSSS model, and it's devoted to Tycho Brahe as well. And because I know Simon Shack is someone put in place, his model is the very next best model to truth. Truth is flat Earth, right? But there's so much more than that. His model is it's still a convex Earth, but it's still a motionless Earth, and all of the luminaries revolve around. He has it down to a T. He has it down to a T. But again, like everything else, if your premise is wrong, if the Earth is not a ball, if the Earth is not moving, first of all, the ball doesn't come into it. But if the Earth is not a ball, everything based on that then can be thrown out. So.
Well, to go further for a moment, sorry. The thing that looks like a dome, this membrane, it can change in density. So it will let more or less light through, so you can like it changes from day and night, you know. So it would explain day and night. It would explain the stars, some of those. I will have to look further into it, but depending on the structural behavior
just
of
trolling
the
us.
dome
I can just tell Zinder, Zinder, this is the biggest ad hoc load of gish gallop nonsense I've ever heard.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that people listen to it, and I'm sure there are a lot of convex earther who would agree with me. And they could come here on the panel and defend the convex Earth.
I'll be honest, my perception is that I'm not sure if you're actually trolling at this point.
He is trolling. It's just nonsense. It's gish gallop nonsense. There's no scientific evidence of this. He's saying it will explain it. No, science explains it. If you've got a scientific explanation for any of this, then fine, present it. If not, it's just gish gallop, ad hoc nonsense. With no validity whatsoever.
Like would have gone away and studied his arse off. His whole world has have to be up.
Yeah, whatever. Models
I mean,
are pseudoscience. This is nonsense. This is just models. It's just pseudoscience. This has got as much validity as the globe has validity. Just pseudoscience models. Nonsense. Sorry, Zinder, if you have poured your heart and soul into this, I'm really sorry. It's just gish gallop. It's just ad hoc nonsense. Sorry.
No problem, and I knew the response, of course, because people here are flat earther, and if I would present it to globe earther, they would deny it too. So I just have to find my own convex earth community.
No, you don't. You just have to find evidence that supports your belief, your position.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is, of course, and I will make a model of it, and I will find proofs, and then I will go here and smash your flat earth beliefs with convex earth.
You are trolling.
See, told you. It's just trolling.
You're hilarious, man.
I don't find it amusing. You know, we had it for sincerity, people actually genuinely saying they thought the Earth is concave. Now, for some of those people, fine, if they actually believe it, if they're dumb enough to believe that nonsense. It's just the same. It's got the same validity as Sphere Earth, or Dick Earth, or any model of Earth. We don't live on a bloody model. Hello, SX.
There are more earthers, some type of earthers, than there are genders. So, you know,
there's two genders.
No, there are a lot of gender, like a Pasha attack helicopter and so on, right? and meanwhile, there are more whatever earthers than genders. So it is kind of, you know. It is kind of surprising to see.
Okay, hold on. I'd like to test that. I'd like to test that. Hold on.
Right?
Let's test that. Let's test that claim. Pete, hold on.
Your life has been turned upside down last week. You came in here a ball earther, and you change your tune, right? As I said, it's not natural for you to be in here so soon,
Just joking.
proclaiming and professing a certain model when you
Just having
haven't
a laugh,
gone back
Pete.
and looked, which would be the natural thing, with new eyes at everything that has been presented. We live in a flat plane, right? But there's much more to the story than that. You can entertain convex, concave, hollow, or you can entertain all of those along your process of going through all of the information presented over the last, 5 or 6 years now, that you hadn't looked at before. That's the natural thing to do.
Okay, now thank you. I just want to put that to a test, Cinder. You said there's more earthers, as in groups of people who believe in a particular type of earth, than there are genders. Now, I don't know how many categories of genders there are, but there's probably more than about 5, I'm going to guess. So, name 5 types of earther.
All right. As I said here, like convex earther, concave earther, flat earther, globe earther, geostationary earther, whatever. Then there is like a peer earther, you know, the thing Neil deGrasse Tyson said. They're like bottle earther. I mean, there are a lot of those. So
well, there's subcategories. There's main categories, Miss Cinder. There's subcategories, main categories. You know?
The peer-reviewed Earth.
No, well risen to the challenge. Didn't think you'd do it. Well done.
This is awesome.
Yeah, but a convex earther and a geocentric earther, they start off with the same thing, a ball Earth, right? So he didn't list 5 there, I'm thinking, but there definitely are more than 5.
My Earth doesn't have a radius. You know, we don't have R.
You don't have R.
No, we don't have R.
No, but on a more serious note, have you actually looked into Dick Earth?
What?
Have you looked into Dick Earth?
No, I didn't, but it sounds like yeah.
Nathan, you never mentioned testicle Earth. That was my own model. We live on a testicle Earth, a part of a binary system. So he hasn't looked into any of this stuff.
I think you'll find the 2 models are joined.
Yeah, okay, maybe one stems from the other. Definitely sure mine was first, though.
Well,
which came first?
I considered a rectangular but bead-shaped Earth.
Arwen, rectangular Earth. Isn't it funny that Aristarchus is said to be found in a rectangular pit on the moon?
Really? Well, there you go. That's the proof.
Well, can I just say to Zinder, it's good to talk as well. I haven't been on in a while. I just said to Zinder, this is my problem with a lot of people that I perceive anyway in the flat Earth arena. They're happy and seemingly content to rest at a certain spot. And when you inquire about what that spot is, usually it's very basic. It's like that, well, the Earth has to be flat, but beyond that, I can't say anything. To me, that's a fucking black hole you're leaving yourselves into. And in one sense, you might as well not have come into this arena at all, because I think there is so much more to find out for the individual. There is an objective truth there for us all to glean. But that's a big issue. And I think that lack of progress beyond certain points is sort of alarming in one sense. I do realize it is all the individual's game, but yeah, more effort should be made to progress in other things. And everything isn't down to the scientific method. It can't be put down to the scientific method. For example, you can't analyze the stars, right, or the luminaries, as you call them, in any scientific sense.
Jesus,
but yet
Pete,
there's a reality attached to them.
No, you
That's
can.
the point.
You can.
Hold on,
analyze
I've
them,
got to get
you
this
just
in.
Can't
Pete,
analyze
that's
any
the
physical
point.
aspects about
Hold
them.
on, Arwen.
Right,
That's
well, in
the
a
point.
scientific sense,
Pete. We're not claiming science. They are. So I've never performed a scientific experiment, and I do not need to when I look at a concrete noun like a lighthouse. However, our opposition claims they are backed by science. So we are picking apart their argument based on its scientific validity, not claiming that we have science.
Sure, but I was speaking just specifically from the point of view of us as individual investigators. When we come on beyond, and they're not antagonistic. These people are paid to put in to do what they do, Nathan. They come in, they're unchangeable. I listened to Dawn Treader on P Mars yesterday, and he was coming out with the same shit he came out with a year ago. These people are just paid, they're reading from a script. So they're not the opposition as such, right? They're sort of fake opposition. We're all in the same boat here. I'm just speaking more specifically to Zinder there in terms of our own personal investigations forward and the need for sort of progress in our own understanding. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh,
Yeah,
agree to that.
I appreciate your advice. I'm going to mute for a while. But thank you very much, Pete. I appreciate it.
No
I'd
problem.
like to place a £1 bet that Pete hasn't got a shred of evidence of anybody ever being paid ever in this arena.
Okay, Nate, that's fine. You know this isn't an isolated view, right? So don't be taking stuff out on me that, it's undeserved. I know that people, Nathan, you remember me from all of these hangouts over the years, right? I know the same characters are doing the exact same thing right now as they were doing when I demolished them. And if you don't mind, can I present something when you get a chance?
Present whatever you like.
This is on topic as well. I think it's like, I think the ballers will have no answer to this. I can't think of how they can figure a way out of it. So
is that a pound then? So metaphorically, if somebody had shook my hand, I'd be getting £1 off them right now then.
I can't. Your volume is low for me. Will you repeat that, please?
So I said £1 says Pete won't have a single shred of evidence that anybody at all on the other side of the argument is being paid to argue their case.
So what sort of evidence would satisfy you?
I don't know. I'm saying you won't present a shred of evidence, not a single thing. That's what I'm claiming.
But
Yeah,
hang on.
it's
Whose
true,
side are
Pete.
you on, Nathan?
No, on nobody's side, but it is true. Your format is to make claims that do sound interesting, and there may be something to it, but you actually don't provide proof.
Yeah, but do you think I need to...
I even challenged you a while ago. You haven't done that yet.
But hang on. Oh, listen. Okay, the biggest issue ever. We know the money that's gone into the deception of mankind, right? Do you think that these conspiracy formats and hangout sort of stuff and everything, the whole arena, isn't controlled somewhat or isn't infiltrated somewhat?
So that's
You're crazy, man.
Of course, that's not.
Hold on.
red
That's a
herring.
question. Do I get to answer? So you're asking me to make a logical deduction. That's not a shred of evidence. So
But hang on,
my
Nathan,
way.
am I trying to convince you of this?
No. Provide evidence, and I have stated that you won't provide a shred of it, and so far so good.
Okay, it was similar to last time. Can we get away from this, please? You have your own views on this, and I've expressed my
it's
views.
not a
Why don't
view.
you just
I've
concede?
stated.
Why
I'll say
don't
it
you-
again. I will state it very clearly, very calmly. Pete will not provide a shred of evidence to back his claim that the opposition are paid to put their views across.
Wrong. You have to concede. You have no evidence, like the
I didn't
rest
come
of
here
us.
trying to present any evidence for that.
There you go.
Okay, Pete. Well, it's just a nice story then.
Okay. Can we move on, please? Is that all right? And actually, great timing, because the picture we have on the screen
on
here
this
is
panel.
exactly what
Hold on,
I
Pete.
wanted
You
to bring up.
want to move on?
So-
When your point's demolished, you're a bit like a Glober in that regard. No, let's
No,
not move on.
okay. My point is not demolished, Nathan. I just didn't come in here with this point to make, right? I just said it. I'm speaking. Every word, everything I say, if you're going to
You're a
pick me up on
master
it
of
and
double
demand
talk.
evidence,
I didn't come in with this point to make. I just came in and made it. I'm talking.
well, I can't hear you. Your volume is low.
Right, that's because you don't shut up.
No, I do shut up. I was in mid-sentence.
So you have said, I haven't come to make these claims. I'm just making them. I'm just talking. So that's like double speak, Pete. You are making them. You have said them. And you're simultaneously saying you're not making these claims. What you're not doing, as stated by me, is providing a shred of evidence to back them. That's my statement. And so far, so good. You've not done that. Now, given that you have accused...
Okay, let me just ask you
yeah,
this,
I was in
right?
mid-sentence, a bit like you, P. Yeah, that's why I shut you up last time. So, given that you have accused multiple people on this panel of being paid agents, including me, I would like you to not move on from this subject and acknowledge my statement of fact that you haven't got a shred of evidence to back anything you're saying.
Okay, Eric Brochane is on. You're pushing me into this now. Eric Brochane is a 9/11 witness, right? So he tells a story.
Sorry. No. Stop. We're not talking
Excuse
about
me now.
9/11.
Don't be stopping me, Nathan. You're asking me for evidence, and I'm not.
Let's explain why Wally gets a bit triggered. We're not talking about 9/11. That's called a distraction. So what I have spoken about specifically is the opponents to us in Flat Earth and whether or not they are paid. And I have declared that Pete will not provide a shred of evidence to back that claim. And now we're moving on to the fact that he's even accused me of it and he wants to talk about 9/11. That's why I've shut him up. So, Pete, have you got a shred of evidence to prove that either me, if you think I'm some sort of double agent, or, let's say, Curved Water or Negator XX, are actually paid agents.
I have a fucking brain.
Oh, very triggered. Swearing. No need.
Excuse me. All right.
Just
I have a brain,
provide
Nathan.
some evidence
You're
rather than
trying to
swearing
trigger
at me.
right?
Pete, I have an alternative
trying to trigger me.
hypothesis. I have an alternative concept for
Yeah,
you.
people get
And that-
triggered when I ask them for evidence to back their bullshit. That gets people very triggered when they've got none.
But because they're driven by their religious gratification from doing it. And the compliments from their peers in this. That's what drives them.
Do you know who taught me that trick? Anthony. Just ask them for their evidence. You watch how quickly they get angry. What's your evidence for that? Immediately,
I'm not
I
getting
get sworn
angry.
at.
Nathan, you seem to have a power sort of trip going on here.
All I did was ask for your evidence. No power.
Right. Okay.
You realise that knowledge is power, though, right? What do you
Right.
think lack of,
And
what do you think-
I've been around this block long enough, Anthony.
But what do you
to
think
know
lack of
something,
knowledge?
right?
What do you think lack of knowledge is? If knowledge is power, what do you think lack of knowledge is?
Subservience, right, to those with knowledge.
And if Nathan's asking you to prove your knowledge and you don't have proof for your knowledge, that means by default you don't have knowledge, right? How strong is your position?
This is not quite logically sound, right? I could know with 100% certainty that someone committed a murder, but in order to be able to prove it, that's a different matter, right? It won't change the fact or the truth of the matter. So these are different matters you're mixing up, Anthony. I didn't come in here. I didn't attack anyone individually. If you're trying to tell me that there are no paid agents, especially on the other side, forget about this side for a minute. I'm in your hangout here, Nathan. I didn't bring that up.
Sorry, let's just stop you again. So he said, you're trying to tell me there's no paid agents. So that's called an argument from ignorance fallacy. Trying to get me to prove non-existence? Argument from ignorance fallacy, Pete.
Okay, well, hang on. I told you. I came in here to present something specific and appropriate. I didn't go into any of this.
Well, you've accused people on the panel of being paid agents, Pete. What do you expect?
Right, yes, I know they are. I know how
right.
Shane is, for instance.
So, what's your evidence for that? Do you want to provide some?
Right, my
not a
evidence
shred.
is
Pound says not a shred.
Right? He told a story about 9/11, and when we pushed him for it, he floundered. He slipped up in his own nonsense. So he's lying, right? And he's in this panel, or he's in this arena for some specific
for the
reason.
audience's benefit. We're not talking about 9/11. We're talking about flat Earth and our opponents to that specific subject, and whether or not they've been paid, and whether or not Pete can actually provide a shred of evidence to prove that fact that he claims with no evidence.
How does that make him a paid?
Right, so I'm dealing with a liar. So I find someone out as a liar, right? And I've met plenty of liars before. So what do I do, Nathan?
Where does the lie come from?
Yeah,
You
I'll
just
say it again.
claimed that
How
he
many
was part
times,
of the
Pete?
cleanup crew
How
of
many
the
times
debris.
have I
How
got
does
to
that
say
make
this
him
to
a liar?
Pete? No, we're not trying to ascertain whether or not people lie. We're trying to ascertain whether or not you have evidence of them being paid.
Okay. This is for a different type of hangout, isn't it?
What, one where people require proof for the assertions made? Yeah, that's what we do here.
Proof? Proof?
Yeah.
Nathan, how far have you come in your journey, right? How far have you come? What are the stars, Nathan? What are the bounds of the Earth? What's beyond the Earth's confines?
Just
what
so we
have
can
you
draw a
replaced?
close to that.
At least we don't.
So we can
know
draw a
what we
close
don't
to
know.
that before
That's
Arwin
an
rumpus
advantage.
For all your
me.
scientific method, it seems you've got
so
dumber,
we can draw a
Nathan.
close. I've got to take control of the hangout. So
Yeah,
we
you gotta
can
take
draw
control
a
of it.
close to that. If I had shook someone's hand, I would be taking a pound off them, as you do not, as asserted by me, have a shred of evidence to prove anyone's getting paid to oppose us.
Does that mean that there is nobody paid?
That's not what I've claimed. I
No,
am
but
challenging
that means
your
there is nobody
assertion
paid.
that people are being paid. And
Does
then
that
you've
mean
moved
that
on
there
to...
is nobody paid because I have no immediate evidence to offer you?
Then you've moved on to 9/11 and said that you can prove that somebody's lied. So not anti-flat earthers getting paid, but anti-9/11 getting caught in a lie. Something
Right.
totally different. So, I'll say it again. I'd be getting a pound right now because you don't have a shred of evidence. This isn't a different kind of hangout. It's the kind of hangout where we win against people who make
what sort of evidence?
fallacious
So would you
claims.
want to give me the whole show to fucking start thinking about what sort of evidence I could present to make the case, is it, Nathan? And I didn't take any pound bet from you.
No, I said metaphorically, if someone had shook my hand, tried to listen, they'd be giving me a pound right now, not you, metaphorically.
Right.
Right, so
Okay.
you don't
If
have any
someone
evidence
did.
to
If someone
prove your
did, would you make
assertion
the
that people are
terms
getting
clear
paid to
of the
oppose
bet?
us. That was my point that I made, and you don't. So you just make fallacious claims, like the people we challenge here, Pete. You make up stuff and assert it without evidence, precisely like our opponents do.
So let me just get this straight, and we can move on then, right? You're saying that no one is put in place either on the flat Earth or the ball Earth side.
No, I did not make that claim. I challenged your claim that they were getting paid and asserted you would have no
But that's your
evidence to
position,
prove
right?
that, and you do not. So let's not make up claims that I've made, P.
Okay, but that's your
That's
default
called,
position, right?
Yeah, let's shut him up. That's called a straw man fallacy.
Yeah, shut him up. You can hear this nonsense.
Yeah, that's called a straw man. When you make up an argument that I haven't actually made and then try to dismantle that. That's called a straw
like a
man
news
fallacy.
presenter. You're like
So
an
I'll say it
interviewee in
again.
the BBC.
I'll say it again. No, I
Get a
did not
grip
make
over
that
yourself,
claim.
man. Stop.
I challenged your claim that people were getting paid to oppose us and asserted you wouldn't have a shred of evidence to prove it, and you don't.
So your position is that that is not the case then?
I am asserting that you have no evidence to prove it, and you
You're
don't.
like a robot. You're like a robot who's been programmed with fixed answers.
No, I'm like a robot who's been programmed to demolish bullshit.
That's where quantum eraser comes into it. You've been programmed.
Really?
Ah.
So now it's a different fallacy. Attack
It's a
someone
method.
else. Poison the well, maybe. So I'll say
What's
it
your
again.
beef here, man?
Let's see
What's
if you
your
can
what's your
concede
beef?
to
It's
your
a
own
method.
nonsense.
He's
P.
applying a
Let's
method.
see if you can
Okay, it's called
concede.
the scientific method.
Let's challenge P on his humbleness. Pete, I asserted that you'd have no evidence to
fair
back
enough.
your
You can
claim that
continue
people were
on.
being paid. Very triggered. I
Okay,
understand.
listen. Forget
Very
about this.
triggered.
Can we drop this for a second? You can continue on under your own illusions or otherwise, and let me do the same.
Yeah, that's called projection. So I don't have any illusions. I ask people to qualify their statements with evidence. You don't have any evidence. It's actually you who has an illusion that people are paid to oppose us. That's what I've picked apart, and now you're accusing me of being a robot for doing so. No, you have a fantasy,
You're like a
Pete.
robot.
A fantasy of people getting paid to oppose us. I've dismantled that.
Ha, fantasy.
Yeah, a fantasy, Pete. If you
Do you
had
think
evidence,
Brian
it wouldn't be a
Cox,
fantasy.
doesn't know that the Earth is flat? Do you think Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't know the Earth is flat, man?
Yeah, that's a segue to a different subject. So Pete's not very
Do
humble.
you think these people don't know that the Earth is flat?
Yeah, that's a different
Therefore, they're
subject.
getting paid to deceive us.
Different subject. So
It's not the. It's the same subject. These are men.
so
These are
that
people.
you now require me to believe that Neil deGrasse Tyson does know the Earth is flat and is being paid to say a different story. That's a lot of conclusions I've got to draw.
What do you think, Nathan? So, what do you think? Mano a mano. What do you think is going on?
Who cares?
Who
Compartmentalized.
cares?
Yeah,
Who cares?
who cares?
Compartmentalized. It's a need-to-know
Who
basis.
cares? I can demolish assertions made like the one you made with no evidence. And the ball Earth that's claimed and taught to children is the same as your nonsense, Pete. Just as easy to pick apart because they too have no evidence to back their assertions.
Okay. Anyone who's listening, I hope you can see what's going on here. I mean, Nathan, weren't you in charge of the old flat Earth debate, flat Earth discussion hangout? No one knew, whoever was in control of it. You knew that arguments went on for 8 hours, 12 hours sometimes. And you're here, what have you left in the last 10 minutes? I want to present something fucking really interesting as well, not to talk about this nonsense.
Stop swearing. You
All
could have
right, but I
presented
still do.
something
I'm
interesting.
pissed off because I wanted to talk about something really interesting. I'm getting stuck up in this nonsense.
Well, okay, if you go
Why
around
don't you
accusing
just
people...
concede then and move on? Stop
Yeah,
being
if you're
such
going
a
to go around
baby.
accusing
Pete.
people of being agents, you're going to have people like me that go, okay, what proof have you got? I haven't taken it personally. I haven't got angry. All I've done is ask you to prove your claim, and you can't.
Right. I haven't attempted to.
I know.
In a formal way, right? I haven't attempted to, because who am I going to convince here?
You could, but you're not.
But who am I going to convince here, Arwen? Who am I trying to convince here?
Anybody that you're speaking to or can hear you. There's 177 people watching.
Right,
So
well,
potentially,
let me say this to the 177 people
Paul.
then, Nathan.
Hey,
You
Paul.
judge for yourself who's who and what's what. Use your own brain.
yeah, I
And
do.
don't be succumbing to people asking you for proof left, right, and centre.
Yeah,
Never
let's
prove
all just
anything.
make endless, spurious claims about nonsense without any evidence, and hopefully everyone will just believe us.
No, you prove stuff to yourself. Did you not hear that part?
Look, all I've done is ask for evidence. No need to get so triggered.
Right, I'm not triggered, Nathan. I
You
just
are.
said I wanted to talk, and the whole time we're talking here, these screenshots is exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Well then, concede and move on.
Arwen, what have I to concede to?
That you don't have any evidence to back your claim that I or anybody on the opposing side of this argument are paid to either oppose or, in my case, be a double agent, Pete.
Man, I didn't come in here with evidence to present or speak about anything like this.
Yes, we
but
know
I
you
could collect
didn't.
loads of
That's the point. You didn't bring evidence. You just brought a spurious, fallacious, nonsense bullshit claim. That's our point. So don't assert to me that you haven't come here with evidence like that's a defence. Saying you don't have any evidence for your claim is not a defence,
and you're pretending
Pete.
it's a disco hall.
But Pete, can I
come in for a
ask you
different
a
reason.
question, Pete?
Your voice is flipping into little girl mode, Pete.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Look,
Pete,
I'm getting
can I
frustrated now
ask you-
because
can I ask you a question,
I
Pete?
first of all have nothing to concede. I said there are people put in place on both sides. Now I don't have evidence immediately to present because
That's our point. You've made a claim, and then immediately after, like it's now going to ride, or I'm going to tolerate it, right, you're going to piss me off real fast. Don't assert that there's people put in place. That's bollocks. You've just made it up.
Mark Surgeon was put in place.
Excuse me. That's bollocks. You've just made it up. You're a fantasist, man. Stop it. I'm sick of it. I've asked you for evidence. You've got none, so stop making these stupid claims. You are delusional. If you don't have evidence, all you have is fantasy, and I'm tired of hearing it.
I'm happy to move on.
Yeah, I'm happy for you to move on when you concede. Like the ballers that don't concede, you've got no humility. So concede.
I have nothing to concede,
You've got,
man. You're
yeah,
saying
now
I
you're
have
talking
no
over me.
evidence to present. I'm
Yeah,
telling you,
triggered again.
collate-
Triggered again immediately. I'm trying to get you to concede that you have nothing but a spurious claim from a fantasist nobody about me being a double agent or anybody on the opposing side being
Never
quote
concede
unquote.
that, man.
You won't even let me finish my sentence. That's how triggered you are about your bullshit.
No.
Yeah, it's
I know,
annoying.
I preempted the end of your sentence.
Yeah, it's annoying that you can't prove your own bullshit, and I understand that. That's why I'm seeking some humility from you, and you won't give it because you have none.
Okay, well, you want humility. I will never concede that because I know it's not true, Nate.
I know it's not true. What? Well, how do you prove it?
So, is that humble?
No,
Because
not in the slightest. To be humble would be to concede, as stated, for a £1 bet that I hypothetically made with someone who isn't stood here, that you would have not a shred of evidence to back your assertion that quote-unquote people are put in place. And you don't. You won't admit it because you don't have any humility. You're an embarrassment.
So your position is that there are no one put in place. There is no one put in place.
Again, here we go again with the roundabout straw man tactic. So I went through this before. We're going to do this circle jerk just like the ballers are, we P. Is that what we're going to do now,
Who am I
Pete?
talking to here? What's your fucking position?
Yeah, totally triggered. I hope the audience is enjoying this as much as I am. I love taking bullshit to pieces, especially when it's a nonsense fantasist like Pete.
What's your position?
Stop making up these stupid conspiracies about other flat earthers
Stop
and
making stuff
ballers
up,
without
Pete.
proof.
Exactly.
And just stick to what you do.
That's the point, Pete. Stop making stuff up. Like a little boy, like a 12-year-old who tells tales and makes stuff up. That's you.
I wasn't friends with Antonio Superats. I wasn't.
Here we go. Another subject change. So absolutely no humility whatsoever. Circle jerk, subject change. Circle jerk, subject change. No, Pete. What we're trying to get you to concede here is that you're a fantasist, delusional, and when you make claims, you have absolutely not one shred of evidence to back them.
And I am a fantasist and delusional. And
Yes, that's correct. You are a fantasist and you are delusional. The way you would back a assertion is to have evidence, and you don't.
So again, you're defending a certain position, and you're calling me a fantasist on the basis that I can't provide evidence that there are people.
But Pete, it's all you talk about.
Your own individual position that no one has been.
This is all you talked about. How do you
no,
not have
I told you I didn't want to talk
prevent?
about this.
Oh my God!
Totally triggered.
Then don't defend it. If you don't want to talk about it, don't defend it. Idiot.
I'm not defending it.
All you do is call everybody agents all day. How do you not have evidence to provide that? I don't understand you, Pete. All you do is call people agents.
You're another 9/11 witness, and you never looked into 9/11 hoax possibility.
Oh, so that makes me an agent. Oh my God, Pete.
Roisin here.
So I think I'll say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the panel, including Pete, who's totally triggered currently. Very, very amusing. I might even leave it recording a little bit into the after show for the people who watch this later on after the second show finishes on my main channel, Nathan Oakley 1980. Sorry, I have to compose myself. Also, a massive thank you to all of you, the live audience, for tuning in and hopefully sharing this live debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!